the Scream 7 trailer just came out a few days ago, and if I'm being honest, I'm not the biggest Scream fan, and it's not because I've watched all the movies and I think they're okay. I just haven't watched them all, and that's not because of a disinterest. I love horror movies. I love the Terrifier series. Fantastic, by the way. Terrifier 4 is in the making. But I'm very aware of the movies. I've seen them. Some of them. I've liked them. They have a huge pop culture influence, especially the original film. It's November 3rd right now. And if you went outside for Halloween trick or treating, I'm sure there's a good chance that you saw somebody in a Scream mask. So, undoubtedly, it is one of the most influential movies in horror, maybe of all time, actually. But my question is, to what point should franchises end? Now, I'm not. This video is not fully about the Scream franchise. That's more of a segue to go into a bigger topic, which is when should franchises end? Because I've noticed, as I'm a huge film fan myself, and I remember back when I was younger, 2015, 2020, before that, I used to always be excited for a movie that came out in theaters. There was never a time, maybe there's a few months, a few gaps in time, but there's always a movie that I wanted to see, or I knew I wanted to see. And recently, it's just been a drought the past few years. I've always had this urge to go see a movie, but there's just nothing out. And actually tonight, I got back from dinner and I was walking past a movie theater and I looked at there's more movies in the theaters, but I just looked at the posters on the outside. There's just nothing I want to see. And I think that's unfortunate. Now, for Scream specifically, it seems like a lot of people really want more. If you hear what people say, you read the comments, people are super excited for the new storyline and everything. However, there's been a few little roadblocks in the Scream series. And by that, I mean there was some controversy. I know the lead actress name is Melissa Barrera, I think I'm pronouncing that right, was fired by the studio Spyglass Media because she made a pro-Palestinian or supporting Palestine. But she compared Gaza's treatment to a concentration camp. And she got fired for that. Now, this is not over that. I'm not going to get political. I really don't like this. It's not that kind of channel, okay? But there's been some controversy, and that's never good for movies. Anytime there's anything to do with actors or people leaving a project, it becomes a disaster. And Jenna Ortega also left the project, she said, because she didn't like the creative direction it was going and, things like that. But who knows really why. And it's the seventh installment. It's been going on since the 90s. And even though I haven't watched all the movies, I'm somewhat aware of the storyline. It's not so much about Scream specifically, but there's a huge trend now where it's most movies that come out that people get excited for is remakes and extensions of franchises that should have ended. So my question is, when should franchises end? In my opinion, the greatest trilogy of all time is The Lord of the Rings. Love Lord of the Rings. I've loved it for so long. I think it's the greatest story ever told. Return of the King, best movie of all time. Best movie. Extended cut. If you don't watch the extended cut, you better watch the extended cut or I'm going to come over and make you watch it. Don't know how I'm going to do that. This is some iced coffee, by the way, I decided to make. Lord of the Rings. Next year, they're coming out. I think maybe they're filming, but anyway, within the next 2 years, they're coming out with a new Lord of the Rings movie. Now, of course, it's not, you have Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and Return of the King. But this one is going to be called The Hunt for Gollum. And if you guys don't know this, in The Fellowship of the Ring, when Frodo is at Bag End in his hobbit hole and Gandalf goes off to what's it called? I'm drawing a blank. Minas Tirith, that's it. That's where he goes, to Gondor, I think. But in that time frame that he's gone, in the movie it makes it seem like this really short amount of time, but in the books I believe it's 17 years, if I have that correct. And that I can understand because I think that's interesting. The series ended a while ago, and Lord of the Rings, by the way, if you guys don't know this, it has so much lore. You could stack pages and fill up this entire room, this entire everything here, and you could fill it up with legitimate lore from Lord of the Rings. So much lore. Same with Star Wars is that way too, but that's a separate topic because that's already been ruined. That I understand. I think that's interesting. There's actually a lot that happens in the book in that time frame that the Fellowship of the Ring, the movie, skips over. So I don't have an issue. And it's actually, I think, being directed or produced by Andy Serkis, who plays Gollum. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't think Peter Jackson's a part of the project. I think he originally was at one point, but now he's not. It's kind of iffy. There's not too much information on it, but I'm actually really excited for that. A little bit biased, but I'm pretty excited for it. I think that's cool. But other franchises in the past few years, such as Mission Impossible, we had Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2. They renamed it to The Final Reckoning. And I actually liked the movie. It was definitely not the best. Fallout was better, which was the sixth entry. I think Rogue Nation was better. I think Ghost Protocol was better. So in terms of franchises, when you start to get above 5 or 6, it depends. When I say 5 or 6, it depends if it's just sequels or you have trilogies, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sequel trilogies. A little bit different than just adding a movie on and on like Mission Impossible, right? But the question I still need to be answered is, when is it enough? I think it's enough when you tell a story and you get to that point. You get right to the edge of people being done, or they're just burnt out by this IP. Whether that's let's use Star Wars as an example. You start with episode 1, 2, and 3. People love them and they wanted more. It almost ended too early, and that's the sweet spot. You want to end right before that line to where this is where people get sick of the series. They don't want more. This is where you end it. So you have a little sliver of people wanting more, and it makes it that much better. That's what Lord of the Rings captured to me, is that Star Wars got to that point with the original trilogy. Then they came out with the prequel trilogy, and it was completely different, at least when it came out. No, I like the prequel trilogy. I think Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars. But people were not a big fan of it. People hated Jar Jar Binks. They sent the actor death threats. It was insane. But people did not like it. They didn't like the CGI. They didn't like how it was clearly catered towards kids more. It had a bunch of ridiculous jokes people thought that did not belong in Star Wars. Not enough fighting. And it was a mess. People didn't like it. And that sort of tarnished Star Wars. And people got burnt out by it. So they didn't make any movies for a while. Then you had the sequel trilogy, which is owned by Disney. This is after Disney Pod, and that was a mess. You had J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson make episode 8. Not going to talk about that here. I'm not a fan of episode 8. Then J.J. Abrams came back for episode 9. It's a mess. You should have one director, one vision. It was a mess. None of it was connected to each other. It was ridiculous. And they extended the time of Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but people were burnt out, especially after episode 8. When episode 9 came out, people were done. They should have, if they did it right, they could have gone away with 9. But that's just because Star Wars has so much lore. They have so many books and comics and everything. But they didn't stop there. This is where you ruin franchises forever. They made not only the sequel trilogy, but they didn't stop there. They made all of these shows and some of the spin-off movies, and it really just got people sick of Star Wars. They should have ended it a long time ago. Another Lucasfilm IP originally, Indiana Jones. They made a 5th one a few years ago with Harrison Ford, of course, and people were not a big fan of it. The first 20 minutes was this CGI version of Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones the movie, with his face younger. It looked a little weird. It actually looked really good, but it was a little bit off at some points. You could definitely tell, but he had the voice of him being older, and it just wasn't the same. And it was like they didn't make Indiana Jones the focal point of the movie. It was the other female lead. I can't remember her name right now. That's how not memorable she is. I love Indiana Jones, one of my favorites. I don't think that should have happened. I think it extended its stay. And I don't know if it's a lack of creativity in Hollywood. I know it is, but it's a business. They care about money. They know IPs make money, so they keep making movies, or they make remakes. And they don't want to take the risk of being creative and coming up with something new because, what if it fails? We're going to lose the money. Well, a little message to Hollywood. If you do something creative, you can create a new IP, right? Hang on. I hope everyone in Hollywood's watching this. You can create a new IP if you take one risk per year. Fuck it. 2 risky movies per year. Any studio's watching this. If you do well, if you're creative, if you have genuine intentions, not just a money grab, but, make it creative so people want to talk about it. You know you do good with a TV show or movie when people make video essays on it. Terrifier. People have made a lot of videos and video essays on Art the Clown. Better Call Saul. People love Saul Goodman. I've seen so many video essays on his character because he's very nuanced. They were took a lot of time to be very creative and made his characteristics and his entire character is just very nuanced. And then you have Star Wars. Going back to Star Wars, it's just bloated with a ton of TV shows. I'm going to show you because I have it pulled up with all the movies and TV shows in order. There's a huge list. This is what you don't do with franchises because you burn people out and they're not interested. They just need to know when to end. You can always try and be creative and come up with a new series, but we don't need to just be continuously doing remakes and sequels. People want something new. And there was a new John Wick spinoff called Ballerina that came out that ended up being okay. Why can't you just make a movie that's actually this one I don't really have a problem with because it's in the John Wick universe, and I think that's kind of cool they're expanding it. But it kind of goes to this broader picture of, from a casual viewer standpoint, from us, all we see is, for an example, more Star Wars. Stranger Things season 5 is coming out. I don't think that show should have been 5 seasons. That's coming out. Spinoff of John Wick, new Mission Impossible. You know what I mean? It's like everywhere you look, it's just sequels, remakes, spinoffs. Nothing new. I think that bothers me, but let's pull up all the Star Wars movies and shows. Here we go. So you have the Star Wars movies and series viewing guys on StarWars.com. And these are in order from release. And this is the list. Let's just do let's do the release order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 26. That is a lot of Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I grew up on Star Wars. I had Star Wars Lego sets. Me and my friend, when I lived in Indiana, this was like 8-10 years ago, we used to make these extremely, and when I say low budget, I mean free of cost. We had a camera and we made these like Star Wars movies. I've always loved Star Wars. I played the Lego games and everything. But this Star Wars is the perfect example of how to not ruin a franchise. There was politics in it. It lost the soul of Star Wars. I'm going to switch back. This has turned into like a Star Wars video, which is, it's not supposed to be, but it lost its soul. It was a shell of what it was. They tried to make this movie that looked like Star Wars, that had lightsabers and X-Wings, the Millennium Falcon, because it was it has to visually look like Star Wars. That's good enough, release it. It's going to make money. No, if you ask George Lucas what is Star Wars, he says it's a family soap opera. That's what he says. You need to understand the intentions. And that's the thing. All these movies, the new Indiana Jones movie, all the Star Wars, I actually liked Mission Impossible. There's so many sequels that are just soulless and they lose the meaning of what the originals were. And it's just, for them, all they care about is a paycheck, is a, quick money grab. Grab some money of people, make a movie look good, show the whole plot in a trailer, and we're good to go. Cool beans. It's so stupid. I don't know. This video is going for too long. I know this is kind of a rant video. It is a commentary channel, but I just want to share my thoughts on franchises, and I'm just a little frustrated because I want to go to the movies, but there's never any good movies out to go see. They're all sequels, or they're all movies that end up doing okay, and I think that's a shame. I wish creativity came back, and I wish people took big risks. Like Pirates of the Caribbean was one of them. Huge budget, took a risk, and ended up doing well because Johnny Depp did a fantastic job with Jack Sparrow. One of the best characters of all time. I think I dressed up as Jack Sparrow on Halloween a few times when I was younger. I love Jack Sparrow. Yeah, I hope to see in the near future some creative new IPs and new trilogies and series, and even if it's based off of books. One book that I'm just ordered is Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy, and I've heard some rumors that are making it into a movie. I know that's probably going to be one movie. I'm sure you could split it up. But, there's classics like that. You can make great movies on. I suppose it doesn't have to be brand new. That would be nice, but there's so many options than just making remakes, sequels, and every movie it has the same type of dialogue. It's like the same people write them. There's a formula that works for how to structure a movie and the plot lines, and they end up being very predictable. But anyway, I'm ranting really bad. I don't want this video to be too long. That's just my thoughts on the movie industry, and I saw the Scream 7 trailer and just made me think about it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about anything. Scream 7, trilogies, state of the movie industry. I just hope to see creativity come back. That's all I want. But have a good rest of your day.